Hello, and welcome to The Storied Human. I'm Lynn Thompson. This is a solo episode. It's going to be a quick one. I wanted to remind people that one of the ways you can sort of rediscover yourself and refocus your efforts on what you should be doing, maybe in your career or your hobbies or your life, is one of the most interesting parts of learning from Cathy Heller was one of the calls she said, "What did you like to do when you were 8 years old? Who were you when you were 8 years old?" And she even encourages you to get a picture of yourself at 8 and put it on your desk so you can always see it. Now, why does she do that? She does that because when you're 8 years old, you're pretty much who you who you really are. Like by then you have your likes, your dislikes, the things that really make you excited and happy and the things you don't, enjoy doing, and you're becoming this full person. And so sometimes as we move through our adult life and we pick up more responsibilities and we get involved in our career or raising children or whatever we're doing, we forget that little 8-year-old. We forget what she likes and what she doesn't like. And we don't remember maybe at our core who we really are or what we used to like to do. And so if you just take a moment today, get into a comfortable position, take a deep breath, and think back to when you were 8 years old. What did you like to do? Who were you? And what are some of the things you did then that you don't do now? And ask yourself if there's any good reason why you don't do them, because that's who you are, that 8-year-old. And as a final thing, Cathy said, think about that 8-year-old. What would she say to you now? And I loved that because I thought about that 8-year-old and she would have said to me, "What are you doing sitting around? Like, you got to get going. You act like you have all the time in the world. Come on, let's run. Let's get going." Because, like a lot of little kids, I was constantly on the run and I was lucky enough to live in a neighborhood with a bunch of other little kids. And we ran around like a gang, like a tribe all summer long and got into all kinds of things. And I remember one of our favorite things was running down to what we called the crick because we lived in Virginia in a little neighborhood in Virginia. And we were like desperate to find crayfish and we'd uncover crayfish by, picking up stones and looking under them. And that was one of our favorite things to do. So I think about that. I think about the activity, about being in nature. And those are things that are really important to me now. And I don't make enough time to be active. She's right, the 8-year-old. And I am outside, but I'm not active outside enough. So that was just really, really good for me to hear that message. So ask yourself that question once you get sort of focused on who you were when you were 8 years old, and definitely write it down and think about it. And then say, what would your 8-year-old self tell you? Usually they tell you have more fun or loosen up or, don't waste time or, just something kind of really fun. Oh, and there was something I wanted to share about when I said, who was I when I was 8 years old? I got this memory of one summer with a whole bunch of us running around like maniacs outside. I organized us into like a theater troupe and I said, I'm going to make a play for us. And I made up a play. I wrote it down and I gave everybody a role and we put on a play just for ourselves. We put on a play and it was really fun. So that is a nice memory. And I was like, oh, that's kind of cool. But then I realized the unusual part about that story is that I decided we were going to do that. I wrote the play and I gave everybody the roles and everyone went along with it. So I think the key part of that story for me to remember is that I was the leader and no one minded. And maybe I've forgotten that part of myself. I think maybe I definitely have forgotten that part of myself. So I think that I inspire other people to do things, and I have to remember that's part of me. So that was a cool story. And I've talked to other people about who they were, and I get a lot of answers like, I used to love my ballet class. I used to love to dance. Or I love to make art. I was making art all the time. Or I love to be around animals. I was always helping and going to the horse farm and petting cows and taking care of the farm. A lot of activities that people enjoyed that they no longer do. So either do the activity again or try to figure out what it was about it that you liked and try to replicate that. So I think we could we could all stand to like take a moment and loosen up a little bit, right? Because we're all kind of overscheduled and caught up in our lives. I know I am, and I don't sometimes remember to just do what I really like to do. Make time for what I really like to do and what I used to like to do. So if there's something you used to like to do that you need to bring back into your life, why don't you go find that out and bring it right back into your life because it's so worth it. So that's my it's almost like a public service announcement, right? For the storied human. Thank you.